You live in a community that's been overlooked and oppressed for years. Neighbors are turning against neighbors, refusing to lend money or otherwise help one another out. Your community is a joke to the greater community. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? Come and see 4 inner-city neighborhoods in Birmingham, Alabama.
We know that he did not leave Palestine for 3 years, but we also know that he didn't sit in the synagogue and wait for them to come to him.
That's Gerrel Jones, founder and executive director of Renew Birmingham. He models his community organizing after what theologian Richard Horsley calls Jesus' renewed village community, based on mutual aid.
But he's focusing on the most broken people. Literally says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, sent me to heal the brokenhearted, preach restoration of sight to the blind, and deliverance to the captive. So this was, he canvassed the area, and he slept in their homes, and he walked the neighborhood with them. He ate with them, and people said, you hanging out with these wine bibbers and prostitutes, right? What kind of holy man are you, right? But this was the example of what community building does. It focuses on the weakest links in the community, because if you don't, right, then the community won't rise any higher than that. Now, there will always be elements that are oppressing or taking advantage of, and so he has to deal with that as well by explaining to the people what's actually happening to them. So I adopt this philosophy.
Jesus explained the powerful forces that acted against his villagers, but he pretty much traveled only among the villages and towns of Galilee. Why?
We also know that he came to save the world, right? So why stay in Palestine? Why not go to Japan? Why not go to Africa? His model required for him to shrink his service area, even though he's affecting the world. So what I decided to do was, instead of saying I serve the whole city of Birmingham, I ain't got but 8 people on staff, I know I can't get to 197,000 people, I shrink the service area to 4 neighborhoods. That's how you got Inslee, Highlands, Wylam, and Tuxedo. Why those neighborhoods? Because they've historically been very bad, produced very bad metrics, and I'm from here.
Gerrel bought a home in the Inslee neighborhood in 2017 and got married a year later. He and his wife got started with community organizing in Inslee by creating Numa Gallery, a social service organization that worked to reduce violence, recidivism, and family dysfunction while building community. The couple also knocked on every door in Inslee's 4 neighborhoods, Inslee, Highlands, Wylam, and Tuxedo. They welcomed new neighbors, got people to get to know their neighbors, and invited them to fish fries and other community events.
For me, it was important to be able to develop a program that invested in the most broken people and had the most broken people learn how to invest in themselves versus being powerless.
Renew Birmingham is doing something unique with inner city community organizing. It's funding culture change. To change a community, providing services isn't enough. Organizers have to encourage community members to change their minds about where they live, to see it more than individual homes to hide in from unhealthy community influences. They need to begin acting as if their neighborhoods were shared public spaces. I'm Bryce Tolpin.
Would you mind telling that story about when the drug dealers moved near you and a lady across the street or somewhere nearby said, can you do something about that?
So one lady, next door neighbor, she had taken to talking with me, right? Come out in the yard and talking with me. She said, you look, and you can see down the hill. And I had noticed, right, what was going on, but I hadn't been entrenched in the neighborhood altogether yet in that part. So she said, yeah, you see all that traffic down there? They got a lot of cars coming over there. I don't know what's going on, but I know it ain't good. Right? So it's big old orange, your hot rod down there. And so I said, okay. So I just decided that if I was going to prove to her how to change these situations, that you can't just point your finger and complain. You need to come with a suggestion or a solution. And if you're afraid of your own children or you're afraid of your neighbors, then that's not going to ever be a good situation for you to be in. So I went down there while she washed and knocked on the door and just introduced myself. Now, somebody pulled up at the same time to buy some drugs, right? And dude thought that I was a preacher. Anytime you got white hair and you're a black man, and it's they think you're a preacher over here. So I said, no, bro, I'm not. No, the preacher him, man. Go ahead on. I said, no, man. Go ahead, do what you do, right? I'm just coming to introduce yourself. You ought to come down the house. Introduce myself. You ought to come down the house. They were shocked and just, so uncomfortable with the idea of somebody coming down there to talk with them. I think they thought I was the police. It wasn't too long. I don't know exactly what the time, but it wasn't very long. It was days, what months, and they had moved. And so I attribute it to, because being a former criminal, I don't really want people coming over and asking me questions about nothing, talking to me about nothing. Right, and because most dope boys that I know are superstitious in some ways, right? They probably took it as an omen. The preacher done came down here. We better move, right? I don't know, I don't know, but they did. And that neighborhood had the highest number of homicides when we moved in. And we've enjoyed, in this service area, we've enjoyed 3 consecutive years of reduction in homicide since we moved in. Now, people don't want to give us credit for that, and I won't even take it. I ain't even mad. I'm just saying that since we've been here, homicides have been reduced. And I'm not one that believes that you can add something or take something away from the equation without changing the outcome.
We would be bringing you in as a partner broker, right? It's like we've got the relationship at JO. We know what they need. And this course that you teach focuses on entrepreneurship, workforce readiness, financial literacy, digital wellness, technology, and leadership. Is that right?
We're at Renew's headquarters in Ensley. Jason Williams is introducing Gerrel Davies, who runs Mogul Mission. Jason is Renew's youth program director. Gerrel is presenting an outline of a course he proposes for Birmingham's Jackson Olin High School.
And you can kind of talk about the things that they would be exposed to. Talk about the people that are coming too, because it's not just you leading and facilitating every session. That was one of the things that I liked.
Before his presentation, Gerrel gets introduced to Gerrel and to Dr. Tashundia McGee, Renew superintendent.
She's to keep it all together, hold it in the road.
Absolutely. The reason I wanted them to come in.
Without referring to notes, Gerrel gives a detailed description of each facilitator from the community and what learning they lead the students in. Renew decides to advocate for Gerrel's program with the high school.
I don't know what to say. Amen.
Renew acts as a broker, a trusted community organizer that selects and pays the cost of other nonprofits' work in its neighborhoods. That broker role helps to fulfill Renew's goal of promoting and funding culture change.
The collective impact means we don't reinvent the wheel. There's already 7,800 nonprofits, right? 1,350 are churches. So what's the point of developing another nonprofit that does the same thing? We pay them per client, per service to do it in our service area.
Gerrel describes 4 elements of community structure: family, faith, school and government, and business and nonprofit systems. With its extensive community relationships, Renew can make sure these 4 systems feed into each other and reinforce each other.
Right, pulling those organizations together in a collective to work on the same goals builds community, giving people who have been disenfranchised and really don't know that they have any power a common goal helps to change the culture in the community, which causes changes in the metrics.
Once the community organizing that Gerrel and his wife were doing in Ensley began to attract significant funding in 2022, Renew has been able to address these 4 systems in several ways.
So now we address housing, adult education, workforce development, youth services, jobs and transportation, and what we call community health and wellness. And that's the 5-prong umbrella, and that addresses those 4 systems.
Under the umbrella's youth service prong, some of Renew's work in the neighborhood schools is outsourced to other nonprofits such as Gabriel's Mogul Mission, but some of Renew's work in schools is direct. I spend a day tagging along with Jason in youth services. We visit principals and other officials at 4 schools as Jason coordinates celebrations and classes. He even helps teach a class.
All right, so this week, every single day, Monday through Friday, you're going to hear from leaders. You're going to hear from entrepreneurs. You're going to hear from business owners. You're going to hear from people that direct schools, right? And they're going to talk to you about what it is that they do, opportunities that they have. Some of you may be in an internship this semester, and you hear one of our partners this week, and you're like, I want to go be with that person. You know what I'm going to tell you? We're going to watch you this semester and see how it goes. If you do really well, guess what? You get to determine where you want to go next semester, not me.
As I'm watching Jason in action, I'm impressed at how readily and gratefully these public schools work with Renew. I speak with Dr. Juliet Reed, Jackson Olin's instructional coach, about Renew.
Renew Birmingham is such an amazing partnership. They provide a lot of opportunities to our students. For instance, a lot of teams, if they don't have all of their, haven't raised all their funding for, for their like spirit packs, or maybe they need, money for competitions or whatever, Renew Birmingham allows teams to come in and do community service. They have to do so many hours, and Renew Birmingham will provide that financial resource, and it's so amazing. One, because our students absolutely needs to engage with the local community and give back. I am a strong proponent of that. That is something that I require seniors to do, to have a few community service projects before they graduate, simply because they need to know that being a part and doing for your local community is just the opportunity they need. I always say, one, to stay humble, and two, to see what's going on. Be a part of that process, to teach them that we can't always, expect something and give nothing. So Renew Birmingham is very, very good about that, and I love that.
Renew staff and volunteers, of course, model the community service that Dr. Reed requires of her seniors. They also help find students the community service that students need to pay for things. This use of community service instead of handouts meets 3 of Renew's goals: develop neighborhood relationships by working together, improve the community's look and feel through the work they do, and get people to expect no handouts. Gerrel calls it resident reciprocity.
Right. So what that does is that allows us to put people in cohorts in community working together, because you don't really have communities out here. People call it a misnomer. Community means that these people would have a common goal, and they don't. All right. So we have to create a vehicle that gives them a common goal. So when he needs 15 hours, she needs 30 hours, they need whatever hours, I can put them together in cohorts, working at a school, working at another nonprofit, picking up trash. Now they have a common goal.
Resident reciprocity works well over time, but significant time in a single community is something most nonprofits can't find.
You have to immerse yourself in the community. So our philosophy is immerse, resource, revive. Immerse yourself in the community, because remember, to cause social influence to start having impact, you've got to be the antecedent. You've got to be the catalyst. You can only catalyze that from the inside out. We know that throwing money at stuff from the outside in doesn't work. How do we know? 154 years of existence and backwards progress. So if you do it from the inside out, you not only affect things in real time, but you also affect things generationally.
Jesus' close work over years with his fishermen and tax collector disciples provides another model for Renew's community organization.
Renew Birmingham does provide mentoring services. They, Jason and Gerrel, have both come to speak to groups. I know they partner with the principal to pick a select group of maybe boys and girls who they felt like that they just need that kind of that intense, that one-on-one. While they're not limited to that, they have done that, just to give. Sometimes you have to go that extra step for our groups of children, those special populations, and we've appreciated.
Willie Walters is 19 years old and serves with Renew as a mentor of some Birmingham middle schoolers. He himself has been mentored by Jason ever since he was in elementary school.
I met Jason when I was in 3rd grade. I was probably like 8 years old. Probably the worst kid you ever see in elementary school. Yeah, I had kind of rough around the edges. My pops had died. I was kind of mad at the world. My principals and my teachers and just the adults around me noticed that. So they took a chance on getting mentors and stuff like that. So that's when I had finally met Jason. Jason come through the school a couple times a week, come check on me and stuff like that. And it was like one time when we hung out outside of school and went to Auburn and watched the football game in the skybox.
Jason and Willie's trip to the Auburn skybox made Willie an Auburn fan, but it also helped Willie begin to imagine the world beyond his neighborhood. Another one of Jason's mentees turned Willie on to the Hamilton musical, too, and Willie ended up directing and even choreographing the entire play when he was in high school. I'm a Hamilton freak too, so over lunch he and I recited the entire Aaron Burr, or rap. Willie and Jason often mentor middle school students together. He sees his young age as an advantage in his work.
I'm able to set that balance between, hey, I'm here to help you, and hey, I know what you're going through.
Jason and Willie recently started a power washing business together, but Willie still understands mentoring younger men as his calling in life.
Jesus set this up. You see Jason and Willie here. Jesus set up the way that you develop this community with a term called discipleship. Now, what most of us have done is water that down, or what I've observed, we've watered that down to church attendance or a class. We call it a discipleship class. But that's not how Jesus did it, and that's not how he explained it, and that's not how Hebrews did it before him. And the concept that he was referencing is a familial concept. When you have a disciple, that disciple becomes your veritable son. And so now we're talking about learning how the master not only talks, or the rabbi, the teacher, not only talks, but how does he move? So you have experience.
Gerrel's model of active discipleship and coordinated community engagement often puts him at odds with the many churches in Renew's service area, churches that usually don't want to work together in the community.
Right, so that's message and modeling. The message is the word, the modeling is the working out of the word. So you're right, experience is important in that, but you won't get it outside of discipleship. In our system, you go to church on Sunday, you pay your tithe, you've done your service to God. You can go home and pray for people, and now you're absolved. Just don't sin. I just don't believe that it's reasonable to expect that God is going to bless you for what you don't do.
Gerrel's emphasis on action and the occasions on which he has taken criticism from religious authorities for taking action also reminds me of the Jesus model. As Hannah Arendt said, the only activity Jesus of Nazareth recommends in his preachings is action.
You think I came to bring peace? I came to bring a sword. I came to divide mothers and daughters. But why? Because one will believe while the other one won't. And narrow is the way and straight is the gate. And few there be that find it, he says. So he's telling you that this is a losing battle where the numbers are concerned. So you got to be okay with not winning everybody. You got to be okay with not being popular, and you got to be okay with the religious community coming after you. You got to be okay with the government hating you. He's giving you the template, right? So he shrunk his service area, he canvassed it, and he told everybody it was going to cost them something if they wanted to get it.
Thank you for listening to Public Spaces. Join us next time in exploring a network of Coptic Christians in Nashville who support not only their fellow Copts, but Egyptian Muslims and all of the minorities who approach them. Until then.